just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Nebraska Veterans Aid is here for veterans and dependents facing unforeseen financial emergencies. Get assistance with food, fuel, shelter, clothing, transportation, and even funeral and medical expenses. If you're a veteran facing a financial emergency, apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid through your county veteran service officer. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/NVA. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Trooper Ty with the Nebraska State Patrol. Winter weather can create dangerous driving conditions on Nebraska roadways. It's critical that you understand the conditions before hitting the road. Nebraska's 511 system provides updates on the road conditions, road closure, live camera views from across the state, and you can even track where plows are on state highways. And if you become stranded on the road, call star 55 and we'll send a trooper to help. Thank you, and drive safe, Nebraska.
This message presented by the Nebraska State Patrol, the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Coming at you live from the 93.7 The Ticket studio. From the heart of Lincoln, America, this is What's Next 24. With the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sherry Tills.
All right, welcome in. Happy Sunday. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, this is What's Next 24. We got the hosts Mike and Sherry in studio with me, as always, as well as the guest, Rebecca Pearson, this morning. 402-464-5685. You guys can join in through the Starter Heyman text line or put a face to the voice. Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo channel 961. With that out of the way, I'll throw it over to the host, Mike and Sherry.
Well, good morning, listeners. This is Mike, and I'm with Sherry. Welcome to What's Next on 93.7 The Ticket today. Sherry and I we like to bring inspiring real-life stories of people within our community. Our goal is to motivate you with these incredible stories. If you're struggling or need help, a helping hand, this show is for you. Don't forget our new book, Next 24, is available at Barnes & Noble in Lincoln South Point Mall. So today, let's get ready to be inspired. We got a special guest and enjoy the show. And for that, I'll turn it over to Sherry.
First of all, good morning, Harrison. We are so glad to have you here every single Sunday.
Morning.
Welcome, you guys. Welcome. Once again, every Sunday I say this, but we are so excited about our guests. And I am super excited about our guests today. But first, we have a little business to take care of. We do our little affirmations. Got the affirmation cards because once again, I broke the jar with the little hearts, but got the cards. And Harrison, we're just doing a random pick. I'll pick yours, bud. Okay. And pass it down to you. Pass that down to him. We'll let you pick a card, any card.
Okay. I'm going to pick that one today.
Yeah.
Oops, I got to pick two accidentally.
Right. Oh, well.
Okay. There we go.
Take the one you want. Yeah. All right.
And I'll just take the one you picked. And Harrison, you go, bud.
All right. I allow myself to be happy no matter what.
That's right. Even when you have to get up early on Sunday.
Yeah, I need that. It's been a long Bears season, so that one fits.
Whoops. Got so excited my headphones fell off. I am proud of myself and my achievements.
I have opportunity and abundance is all around me.
Ah, great. And I do, but I don't sweat the small stuff.
That's a discussion for
that's another day.
There's a good reminder for that one.
Yes.
I do. Sherry, you want to introduce our special guest today?
Yes. Today we have the pleasure of introducing a remarkable leader and inspiring figure, Rebecca Pearson. As the owner of 93.7 The Ticket FM and currently the CEO of Beatrice Bakery Company, Rebecca brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our community. From her early days growing up on the East Coast to her impressive career spanning roles at ExxonMobil, We Connect International, and her own business, BDP Communications LLC, Rebecca's journey is a testament to her dedication and especially her leadership. Her impact on the corporate world, combined with her commitment to teaching and community involvement, makes her a true role model, not just for men, but especially for women. Join us as we dive into her incredible story, exploring the influences and experiences that have shaped her path. Get ready to be inspired, you guys, by Rebecca Pearson on What's Next. She is the queen of this radio station.
Yes.
She is the queen, and we are so excited to have her on our show.
Welcome, Rebecca. I'm glad you're here this morning.
Thank you.
On a Sunday morning. This is really, really awesome. We've been looking forward to this because we know a little bit about the journey. So this is a wonderful thing to share. Let's jump right in because people may not know. They see you, they've seen you on there. Tell us your background, where you're from.
Right. And there's no short version, but I'll try to make it short. I was I was born in the Philippines, so that's always, just a fun fact kind of a thing. My father was in the Navy. And so that's where I was born. We didn't stay there very long, 6 months, then came through Hawaii and then headed back to the United States. But because he was in the Navy, I've moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that does contribute to your understanding of humanity, I would say, just because you get to move all the time, pick up roots, have to make new friends, those kinds of things that are hard for people sometimes. So we moved 5 different times to the Washington, D.C. area. So I call that home. Because I was there 5 different times. And then I stayed there after I graduated high school, which is where I met DP. So we'll, I'm sure, cover that ground at some point. And I went to 3 colleges. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. And got a fashion merchandising degree, then not sequentially like this, not one right after the other, but over the course of 10 years, I went and then to George Washington University for my undergrad in business administration with a focus on marketing, and then ultimately went to get my MBA from American University. So lots of ties to Washington, D.C., because George Washington and American are both in Washington, D.C., and coming out of my MBA program is when I started working at ExxonMobil, but I worked a lot of different places leading up to that. I worked for a company called Lord & Taylor, which some people may know. Large department store. If you're local here in Lincoln, it's kind of like a Von Maur. And I also worked at an office supply store, a mid-Atlantic chain, prior to Staples and Office Depot really taking over. So that was a unique place to work. And I worked in subsidized housing, property management, doing construction and actual property management and computer coding, which is how I learned computers.
Wow.
And then eventually after grad school, went to ExxonMobil. I worked for a research company, which is how I got the job at ExxonMobil. And then I spent 24 years at ExxonMobil. I was an expat. I went to Belgium and lived there for 3 years. And ultimately, the company, the headquarters, I joined Mobil, and then they merged with Exxon a couple of years after I joined. And so I worked in Virginia. That's where the headquarters was at the time. And then my last 5 years, I was in Houston. And then I made my way to Lincoln. So that's the short flyby.
That's the short
There's
version.
lots of content in the middle there, but that's the short flyby.
Tell it, brothers and sisters.
I have one brother. He lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico right now, and he has one son. So I have one nephew. We are a very small family. My father had no siblings, and my mother had one brother. So we are a very small family.
How did I didn't know that your father was in the Navy. How did all this traveling and seeing the Navy discipline influence your life?
Yes. Well, one of the pros of that that you don't appreciate as a child is being able to pick up roots and make new friends. As a child, that's very hard on you because you're leaving your friends and you don't get it. But as an adult, it is very easy. And DP and I have the same benefit. We can pick up and go. And we managed to stay connected. Of course, with social media, it's much easier these days. You used to write letters and make phone calls and those kinds of things. So on the plus side, I got to see a lot of places as a young adult that many people who never leave the town where they're born or where they spent most of their life don't ever see. On the downside, you are having to uproot and change, and that is hard and adjust. And sometimes you leave your really good friends behind, and you wish you didn't have to do that. And then for my father, what's fun, if you're moving all the time, which is common in the Navy anyway, but he was an officer. So for him, it was moving up. And so I got to watch my father take on more and more responsibility, which I didn't really appreciate until we were later. My dad's my bud. I am my father's kid, for sure. I'm not like my mother. I'm like my father. I look like my mother, but I'm like my father. So we would talk business most of my adult life because he was a captain in the Navy.
Oh, wow.
My mother's father was an admiral in the Navy. So the Navy structure is born and bred into me. Both my parents were very organized, detailed, and structured. And that comes also from the Navy, and he was a civil engineer, so that comes from engineering.
Oh, my goodness.
And that really helped me when I got to ExxonMobil, and so we can talk about that when we get to that part of the journey.
Well, I was looking at this. It said that you went to Jeb Stuart High School, but now that's changed to Justice High School.
Oh, is it? Yes, I'm not even keeping up.
I was just looking up a little bit because I was curious. It told me that you grew up in Falls Church, Virginia.
Yes.
Is that a small town area?
Not really. It's a suburb of Washington, D.C. I don't even know how many people are there, but I mean, the suburb is probably close to the size of Lincoln, to be honest. Yes.
Right. Well, when I was looking at this, being back east, you're there in such a powerful state, powerful area, see a lot of things that we don't see so much in the Midwest. You're up close. How did the growing high school time influence you in those years?
Sure. So I guess I have a couple of recollections of high school. I went to several. I went to 3 because of the moves.
That's hard.
Yeah. So I started in Florida. I was in 9th grade in Florida. High school for me is 4 grades, 9th through 12th. That's 4, right? Okay. So to make sure I can count. And that school, oddly, was called Jeb Stuart as well. And it was in Jacksonville, Florida. So that's where we lived at the time. We lived on base, which was an interesting experience. And so I went to that school for 1 year, but we had been in Virginia for 2 years prior to that. And the schooling in Fairfax County, which is where Falls Church is one of the top counties in the country for schooling. And Jacksonville, Florida is not. So after a year there, my parents realized that I was going backwards. Basically, I learned nothing because Fairfax County was more advanced than the county where Jeb Stuart is, which I can't remember. Orange County is the neighboring county, but I can't remember the county that it was in. So they sent me to a private school called Bowles in Jacksonville, Florida, which was across the river. I had to do a 45-minute commute there and back every day. So I didn't like that, and I had made friends by then. So I was unhappy with that. In the end, an excellent decision by my parents because that challenged me. And then we moved. So I was in Jacksonville for 2 years, which is a normal Navy stint. and then came back and went to Jeb Stewart in Falls Church. But I had been in Falls Church prior to going to Jacksonville. So now I'm back with my friends. Mostly, you split high schools sometimes, but mostly there. And that's really where I had my first mentor as a teacher. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but I took a class called Fashion Merchandising. And my dad used to tell me this story that the woman, her name was Mrs. Birch, had such an influence on me. And I definitely did not appreciate that till much later in life. But I loved that class. She was a great teacher, and she had a lot of time for me. And my dad gives her a lot of credit for kind of getting me going. And I did a co-op program in the high school. So I worked at Lord and Taylor as a high school student.
Wow. Wow.
So 5th and 6th grade, I would leave and go work. And I guess that must have been my senior year. I can't even remember. It had to have been my senior year. I'm sure as a junior, I was still going to 6 classes. So I worked most of the time in my senior year. My dad would pick me up on his way home from work. You know, we had our little thing going, and Lord and Taylor liked me. I had this amazing manager. Everybody hated her. She didn't really care for me either, but she was just a go-getter, and she taught me a ton of lessons. And the one that I tell everyone when I get up and speak about my career is this lady. Her name was Nancy. And, you know, I was a stock clerk, and she had to grade me. And my first grade was like a C, being a stock clerk. And I was like, it's not that hard. You pull stuff out of the box, put it on a hanger. She's like, yes, but you don't have any initiative. You pull the box, you know, stuff out, and you put on a hanger, and then you stand around. And that taught me initiative that now makes everyone crazy, maybe even Harrison, because I'm never standing around. I am always looking forward as to what's the next thing I can do and how I can contribute. I give her a ton of credit for teaching me that at age 17.
But before that, were you like a typical student where maybe always good grades, or maybe not always? Not always?
Yes.
As you're growing up, evolving, changing, how did your involvement, when did that kick in that said, you know, there's a spark, you're drawn to it?
Much later in life.
Much later.
39. Yeah, I was 17 then. No, it never hit me at all. It took me till I was 39 at ExxonMobil, and someone who took an interest in me to really spark me. I was a decent student.
So with the teenage years, I'm just curious, because of the movement, the discipline in the military, did it cause you some doubt, frustration, or just uncertainty? A lot of kids are unsure growing up, evolving.
Sure.
Did you feel those pains?
I probably did. I don't remember them. I think the thing that's most significant that my mom talks about, or my mother's no longer with us, but she used to talk about it. My brother is very bright, and he has a genius IQ. He doesn't like it when I say that, but he does. And so he's my brother. He's 3 years older than me, and straight A student, and honors classes, and took French. You know, that kid. And I was reasonably bright, I think, but my mom used to get frustrated because she tested me for the gifted program, and I missed it in math by like 1 point or something. And it just grated on her to no end. But I sort of never, as a woman, so now we can talk about this. I have no doubt that as a young female child, and my parents were super traditional. My dad was a huge champion of me, but I don't think he was looking at it as a woman. I was his daughter. And my mother, super traditional, but a teacher and amazing. I just don't think they cultivated that at that time and that part of our lives, right? This is in the 70s. You're not really thinking about helping the gender move forward.
Right.
My parents were super supportive, but it wasn't focused on that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I got as much support as would have been required to maybe make me realize that I was gifted. I don't think my parents treated me that way, but I didn't make the cut in the system. And she really feels like that was negative to me. And so my recollection is being in my brother's shadow from a grades perspective, and maybe not always performing to my potential until later. My dad really became the one who incentivized me to do better.
What made you pick George Washington University?
Well, I guess I wanted to stay in Washington. I had been to New York City, and I wasn't even going to go to a 4-year school. I didn't like school at that point. I liked working, but I didn't like school. And as I said, I was a reasonably good student, A's and B's most of the time, you know, a C here and there, but maybe 1 C in high school. I don't know, A and B student. And I just went to a 2-year school because I didn't want to go to a 4-year school. And then I realized to be a buyer in a retail firm like Lord & Taylor, which was owned by Associated Dry Goods at the time, was a long road to go, and that I probably was going to need a 4-year degree. So I just looked at the best business schools in the Washington area in the 80s, which is when I went there, and that's how I got to GW. So it was back home, so to speak. It was a good business school. I was able to transfer in my credits from New York and also work at the same time. So I continued to work at Lord & Taylor and go to school.
Growing up in the Midwest, you know, we're kind of spoiled out here. We think the world evolves right here in this little town of Lincoln, Nebraska. I can't imagine though. Cher, was it an advantage or a disadvantage growing up in like New York and Washington, big city? I hear stories where people feel alone in these big cities, but yet you see so much and so much opportunity. What was your perspective?
Yes. Well, probably because I moved a lot. It felt more comfortable to be around different people. And in the Navy, you tend to have maybe a tad more diversity. But what I would say, and that you miss here in Lincoln, and is part of mine and DP's passion, is diversity. You have all walks of life, and I don't mean just ethnic diversity. I mean diversity, right? You get real exposure to economic differences. You get real exposure to ethnic differences. You get exposure to people who are transient and people who've lived there their whole life. And you certainly get diversity of thought, which is what the root of where we always go for any of that. So absolutely an advantage, because I have seen a lot and I have a greater appreciation for differences and what that can do for us.
So in college, what did you want to do when that time? You think, I'm in college, I get a degree. What did you want to do?
Well, I wanted to be a buyer. I liked clothing, and that was from my fashion merchandising class. And we used to take trips to New York. So I think that sort of contributed probably to going to New York. But after that, I realized that, as I said, it was going to be a long road to kind of maybe be a buyer, and maybe I needed to go back and get a degree. So marketing was really my area of interest. That's the closest thing of a business discipline that you can get from fashion merchandising. And I had some advice from teachers and so on to do that. But at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just was following that path. And this has been something that's been unconscious, I would say, my whole life, is just following the path that's in front of me, and kind of not trying to plan the entire life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good lesson. Having read your book, it's really,
absolutely
wonderful that, you kind of the next 24.
Well,
plus you were in that flux of, and I can imagine what it was like on the East Coast, but you were in that flux of where women were starting to come into their own in the business world.
Oh, yes.
Where that wasn't the case even 10 years before.
Right. Well, and in merchandising, in fashion, women were very well respected,
right?
Because many fashion designers were women even at that time, although the big ones were still men, interestingly enough. But it was an industry that catered to women, so it wasn't unusual to find women. Although I went to FIT as a fashion mecca.
Huge.
And big for design, not necessarily merchandising, but a good school. And so there were lots of men and women, but that was my first up close exposure to gay men, because there were many gay men at FIT, because the fashion industry caters to that. Why? You can look at any stereotype you want, but it does. And so I lived on the same floor with other gay men, hence my exposure to diversity. Is super important, because I'm living on the same floor with these guys. I mean, there were heterosexual men there too, but so anyway, long story of getting around to, how these things affected me and what I wanted to do. I didn't really know. I just liked marketing. And then that led to, I met someone on a plane when I was going to visit someone in Texas that I didn't really even know that well. And I met this woman on the plane, and we ended up talking and ended up working for her. And that was my first job.
Oh my goodness.
Out of college, because she also was in marketing, and she was in a satellite public affairs company. And so that was my first job out of George Washington University, from someone I met on a plane.
How did you like George Washington University? By the way, let's back. What was the experience?
Yes.
What was your college experience?
So all three of my schools have been city schools. So I don't have the traditional campus exposure and sports. They had basketball. Both those schools were very good at basketball when I was going to them. FIT had no sports. We did bowling at Madison Square Garden. That's my great story. So, and I was just there a few weeks ago. I was like, the bowling alley must have been here, but so Yeah, they're city schools. They're fun. I like the city vibe, but it's not the same as a campus experience. And we were right by the metro. It's just downtown Washington, D.C. I'm 2 blocks from the monument, 4 blocks from the White House. Everything is very close there. So you get a lot of access to people, lecturers, very nice school, great professors, the campus, great. And even now they've improved it quite a bit since I was there. I almost don't recognize it. I go back sometimes. I judge on some of the entrepreneurship competitions, that kind of a thing. But yeah, really fun. And American was similar, another beautiful campus in Washington, D.C.
Well, the thing, to be back to the book, I was so naive growing up. I thought life was a straight line. You do. You go to college, you're going to get the job, the things are going to fall into place. But it's a curvy line, and sometimes you don't react well. Did you ever have any of some of the experiences where the road was a little curvy?
Yes. Well, I had my ups and downs like anyone else, I think. I actually was let go from that company that the lady that I met on the plane, that I felt was unjustified. And that was a very down time in my life. And they said they didn't trust me. I worked, this strange story, but I worked very late hours there. I was doing kind of programming. I was teaching myself to do some coding. We were telemarketing for trailers from Columbia Pictures and TriStar and a whole bunch of other businesses that did video news releases. And I was didn't like paperwork, so I was teaching myself coding. So I was working very late hours and then coming in late. And somehow we just got sideways with each other. And I came in one day and they said, "Yeah, you're out of here." And having never been fired before, it was reasonably young. I mean, that's pretty tragic. And of course, at that time in your life, you're living paycheck to paycheck.
Let's talk about that. Rebecca, talk about that a little bit. I've seen that a lot with young people. How did you react or respond?
I cried. Yeah, cried terribly. I had fabulous parents. So I called my dad.
Yeah.
This is not something I'd call my mom about. I called my dad, and, they listened to me cry and, and then tell me to get up, get back on the horse kind of a thing, right? Fabulous parents, but was terrified. I'm living in an apartment by myself. And how do I pay the bills? How do I get gas? How do I find another job? What about the few, at that time, I'm not thinking how long it's going to take me to get a job, but it took me a few days to get over it. But my parents are amazing. My father, fabulous. And I am a easily adaptable person. I didn't know that at the time, but knowing myself the way I do now and looking back, I do get up off the ground and pick myself up and move on. So I did.
Rebecca, on that note, we need to take a break, and we'll be right back, and we'll start up where we left off.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
As a proud member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, Coalition Restoration stands out by providing thorough property assessments, personalized customer service, and top-notch craftsmanship. With years of experience in the industry, Coalition Restoration has built a notable reputation for having a team filled with skilled professionals and possessing the expertise to handle any roofing project, big or small. Visit their website today for a free roof assessment at www.coalitionrestoration.com or give them a call at 402-607-8186. Automotive Solutions is Lincoln's one-stop shop for all your vehicle needs, from vinyl wraps to engine repair and maintenance. Automotive Solution offers fleet services as well as printing and graphic design for vinyl applications, plus installation of vinyl for boats, trucks, cars, and anything else you want wrapped. Perfection is their standard, and they never settle for less. Call today at 531-249-5600 or go to automotivesolutionslincoln.com to learn more. That's Automotive Solutions, 2040 Southwest 5th Street in Lincoln. The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Bagels & Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in December. Try one of their delicious breakfast sandwiches or grilled breakfast burritos. Don't forget to snag a gift card for stocking stuffers and bring your family in from out of town. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels & Joe.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Nebraska's Christmas Light Show is back and bigger than ever. The Magical Lights of Lincoln Christmas Show runs from Black Friday through New Year's Eve at Sandhills Global Event Center. Bring the family for a show they'll never forget, featuring over 1.5 million lights. Cost is $25 per vehicle from Monday through Thursday, $30 on Friday and Saturday, and also $30 on Christmas Eve and Day. Purchase your tickets online today at ChristmasLightsInLincoln.com and get ready to experience a drive-through light show like you've never seen before.
Back to What's Next 24 from the 93.7 The Ticket Studio with the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sherry Tills.
All right, welcome back in. What's Next 24? Harrison Arns on the ones and twos as always. Come Sunday morning, we got the hosts Mike and Sherry in studio to my left, as well as guest Rebecca Pearson today. With that being said, you guys are welcome to join in, but I'll throw it over to the host.
Welcome back. Yes, I want to remind that. Please text in or ask questions. This is a wonderful day of lessons from Rebecca that we're learning about winding roads. And of course, this was in the 70s?
Yes.
Oh, was the song Life in the Fast Lane out?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's what I always think about when I think about back
especially
east.
New York. Well, especially New York or
Yeah.
even Washington, D.C. compared to Lincoln.
Yeah.
When we go back to Washington now, it's crazy. We were there a few weeks ago, and I'm driving on the Beltway, which is the road around, right? You probably understand what a Beltway is. And it's just, the driving is horrendous. But I lived it and drove it for 20 plus years. And, I didn't like it then, but I didn't really notice it. But coming from Lincoln, it's like, oh my gosh, let me go back to Lincoln. This is awesome.
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to start where we left off a little bit. You were going through some changes and so forth in life and making some decisions and finding yourself. It sounds like you responded fairly well. I mean,
I did, yes. But we were talking off air there about support, and I just really believe this, and it's still something that's important to me. And it'll lead to conversations around finding what you're good at and owning that, which is how I coach anybody that works for me today, is be comfortable with what you're good at and be comfortable with what you're not good at and own that. Because you can't be good at everything. Nobody is. I mean, there might be a few exceptions that are very close, but no one is. And having a support system, which I had with my parents, fortunately, really made a difference because they were there for me, and they were there for me financially, which many, many people don't have. Now, they were not just throwing money at me and saying, hey, my dad was very strict about, you got to earn your way. I'll make a loan to you. We had paper. I loan you $1,000. You're going to pay me $5 a week for the next 50 years. It didn't matter. I had to pay the $5 a week or whatever we agreed to, and I had to pay it off. Or, at some point he might write it off, but it'd be years later. My dad was just really good at teaching me the things I would need to know. And again, many, many people don't have anyone to teach them that financial management, especially at that age. And they don't have someone who maybe can help them bridge the financial gap. So I can appreciate that. But I didn't really know all that at the time. I was terrified. How am I going to pay the bills? Going to get evicted? All those wonderful things, and my dad would come in. But more importantly, how do you get up and go out and look for a job? And it's not politically correct to say you've been fired. So to get another job and tell people you've been fired, also difficult. But you all will learn, if you don't know already, my number one value is integrity. I have zero tolerance for lying. I don't care how bad it is what you have to tell me, but you better tell me
the truth.
I cannot deal if you don't tell me the truth.
To move forward, I want to read this because I think this is so motivational. You shared this with me, so I call it Rebecca Pearson's quotes. You shared with me this, and we'll jump into ExxonMobil. That's why I want to read this now. You said, my main themes: putting talent in the right role, appreciate diversity of thought, taking on tough problems is what I enjoy, continuous improvement, and the 6 words at ExxonMobil that describe me is, and I love this, always busy, always changing, never satisfied. So let's jump into ExxonMobil. How'd you find it? And that sounds like this was just the thing.
It was the thing.
The diamond in the rough.
Did not know it. Yes, did not know it. I was just at an internship in grad school. So this is now my 3rd school that I've gone to. I'm in my 30s. Many, many people don't go to grad school in their 30s. So I got to have fun with all of that. I was the oldest student in the class, but because of that, I had a little more knowledge. So I was doing many internships to try to figure out what I really wanted to do. I wanted to get back to marketing. Short version is I was doing coding and crawling around on the floor and setting up computers. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing marketing. Let me go back to school to do that. So I was interning at a market research company. They were doing work for mobile at the time. This is pre-merger. And because I was more mature and had finally found my sweet spot of capability, which market research is data and analytics, really my love. And so they recommended me when mobile was hiring for a market research analyst. And that was my first job into mobile. And interestingly enough, I was interviewed by 2 former Navy people, men, at ExxonMobil, which the girl who interviewed me told me afterwards she was so ticked off because I actually showed up in a dress that looked very Navy. I can envision it. And she's like, wow, I'm thinking I get a woman in here. And what I got this girl showing up in a Navy looking dress and interviewed by 2 Navy, 1 captain, actually both captains at the time, which is what my dad was. So anyway, I probably was a shoo-in and didn't know it, but I got the job, not making much money, especially for an MBA, not making much money at all. And that's how I got my foot in the door. 3 years later, they came to me. So we went through the merger 2 years after that, a year and a half after that, 2 before it solidified. And the year of the merger or the year after the merger, one of the Exxon people came in because this was the Mobil Exxon merger, if anybody knows that, and said, hey, we'd like to send you to Belgium to do a financial management type job. And I'm looking at them. I have 3 marketing degrees at this point. I've been there 2 years and had never expressed any desire to move overseas or anything. And I was like, why on earth would you send a marketer to Belgium to do a financial management job? I'm not very smart, obviously, at this point. So I was like, well, how often do you get to do something like that? I'm used to moving, no big deal. I had a boyfriend at the time, which was not DP. And, I was like, okay, let's do it. I was terrified, just frightened to death, because I thought I was going to be there by myself doing a bunch of spreadsheets, which, while I'm very good by most people's standards, I was not ExxonMobil quality for all the analysts they had there. These people were spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know. I ended up having 17 people working for me there and managing all the financial management for our division in Europe. So off I go to Europe, and I'm a 37 at the time. And I figured out eventually that I was on a development track. So that was their nod to me that, hey, we think you've got some potential at the company. But I didn't figure this out. I had a second supervisor while I was there in customer service. I had two jobs, the financial management job and the customer service job. And my boss while I was there was phenomenal, extremely tenured executive at Exxon. I got super interesting insights to corporate, because I'm in a division. Corporate is where the CEO is, right? And he was connected into the CEO. So I had very interesting insight to the real corporate life at ExxonMobil. So my second supervisor, who was still in the US and was my supervisor, even though I was living in Belgium, was the second man at ExxonMobil to identify me as talent. The first one was the one that got me into Belgium, and he's since deceased, but I give all the credit to him for identifying me as talent. Wonderful man. And the second one was this guy named Nigel. And so at that point in time, I was still unsure whether I wanted to be an executive. This is corporate. You have to be careful what you wish for to adapt. And I don't have a corporate background at this point. I've never worked in a large company. This was the first large company I'd worked in. I'd worked in Lord & Taylor's, probably the biggest company, but nothing compared to, an $80 billion company. So I wasn't even sure I wanted to be tapped as an executive. I'm just doing my thing. And so he got me a coach, and I had an executive coach for several years. And we went through all the conniptions of what does it take to be successful in executive? Because you have to toe the line, not because it's politics, but because you're a leader. And it was the hardest thing for me to understand is other people are looking at me as a role model and a leader. And I'm looking around going, really, me? Why? Why me? I'm just this gal that went to some schools, FIT. It is still not grasping this concept that people are looking at me. And then you get into, this is a male engineering company.
And there
are not many women in this company, and certainly not many women tapped as an executive. And I wasn't as an executive, but this is the development track to get it. So just because you're on the development track doesn't mean you actually achieve that. And when we say executive, it's an ExxonMobil term that a lot of corporate companies will use when you hit the big leagues. I'm going to call it the big leagues. So I just wasn't sure I wanted any of that because I'm watching all these other people and all the politics that they have to deal with. And that's not me. You guys know me a little bit. I am blunt, straightforward, don't have a lot of time for faffing about, need to get stuff done, and wasn't sure I wanted to deal with all of this. But through my coach, who was a woman, I decided I was going to give it a go. And I thought, well, let's see if I can do it. It was just a challenge to see if I could do it. I had just not that person that wanted to be aspirational like that. I'm not that person that's going for notoriety. I'm not that kind of person that was trying to get a bunch of money. It's not who I am, but achieving the objective is who I am. And so that's how I took it, is let's see if I can actually do it. And I did it.
What issues, I guess, so to speak, I don't want to say problems. What issues did you encounter as a woman during this time, moving from point A to point B? And I mean, from point B to point A. And point A was huge. Being an executive at ExxonMobil, just for me, just a Midwest, mom, it blows me out of the water.
Well, it's so I give a lot of credit to ExxonMobil and particularly this division that I'm in, but I love the company. So you're never going to hear me say anything bad about the company, but it's not perfect.
No.
And it certainly had grown up in the era of being having all the systemic bias built into it.
Right.
That any of these companies did, because women weren't in the workforce. Go as far back as you want.
Yeah.
It's just systemic in this country. So it suffered from all of those same things. But I give them a lot of credit for saying we don't want it to be like this. But saying that and making it happen is a hard road to hoe. And I was just experiencing the unconscious bias that is inherent in what you're doing. And if we hadn't had training to teach people around us what that looked like, we wouldn't have been able to have the conversations. Now I was there 24 years, and that probably started when I came back to the US in 2002. Is when I think the company got very serious about that. Not that they weren't before, but it's different when you put programs in place to try to really change. And they were looking at numbers. It's what you do. You're looking at statistics, like, are we getting women through the pipeline? What do we have to do? Are they making it? And you have the real issue of women leaving the workforce, having children, coming back, having corporate hours in life, depending on what part of the company you're in. Some of that was very demanding. And people thinking that you had to work those crazy hours in order to be successful, like all of that's going on. So the women that were, and I didn't have my own children or have to leave to do that. So I had, I'm going to say, a leg up on other women because I was there all the time and I could be there all the time and I can work the crazy hours and I didn't have children, that needed to be taken care of or anything else. So I had a benefit in that respect that I'm sure helped me.
So Exxon was very innovative at the times as far as moving women up the corporate ladder.
Yes. And I would say it was the mobile part of Exxon and not the Exxon part of Exxon. And that's a true statement. And I think everybody that works there today who had that experience of both cultures would say that. But at the end of the day, the dominating culture after the merger was Exxon. So I give them also, a lot of credit for allowing themselves to be influenced.
Right.
And that's, again, where you get diversity, the two cultures of these companies coming together. I could talk for an hour on what it's like to go through a merger of that size with two cultures. But so I got a little bit of help, but I'm also, as I said earlier, growing up with engineers and structure and my dad being my father figure and all those things, I think I was super comfortable in a male environment. Most of my friends growing up were men. I probably just had that going for me and not knowing it, but still a woman in this world. And so I probably fit a little bit better. I'm also super analytical, which the company was. The company was just a good fit for me. Yeah. At the end of the day, a very good fit for me, but I still had to deal with all of that. So as we were getting trained, I could tell stories about what that unconscious bias looks like. And certainly it was inherent, but because they were putting programs in place, I think I was able to benefit from that.
Rebecca, real quick, due to time, let's fast forward. You've got all the experience. Tell us, where did DP come into the story? I see you got married at the baseball stadium.
We did indeed. So DP and I met at a party at my house in the 80s. And fast forward, because we don't have time to tell that whole story. We got together in, what year was that? 2010. I was trying to think, 2010 or 2011, somewhere around in there. We got married in 2011. Yeah. And yes, we had known each other off and on all those years. We met in the 80s and we dated for a little while. And then just later in life, found each other again. And at the time, I think when he and I had first met, we had a very unique connection anyway, one that didn't require words. And I would say it's still the same now. We can be in a room and not speak, but we're still on the same page. And we say, same thoughts, same philosophy. So we, because he was a sports guy by the time we got together, he wasn't when I was dating him, but he became this amazing sports guy, right? We, and I love sports. I just, didn't play them myself really. So we got married at the Nationals Stadium in Washington, D.C., which is where we were when we got married. And that was a great kind of culmination for our relationship. And we had lots of friends that we had known over the years coming to the wedding. And we had tours in the ballpark and
I wish that would have
pictures. And yes. And most of I think all of our parents at the time were there and none of them are with us now. So yeah, it's very terrible.
Sherry, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll hear more about how 93.7 came down to 1040 O Street.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Hey everyone, Lance here with Black Label. We specialize in creating custom crafted decks, pergolas, patio covers, and more. Plus, our retractable screens, gazebos, and patio enclosures create the ultimate outdoor retreat. With over 50 years of combined experience, we're not just builders, we're creators of unforgettable memories.
Call them today at 402-730-6333 or visit blacklabelbuilt.com for a free consultation.
Let's turn your backyard dreams into reality.
Black Label Built, built to serve, built to last.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Get a one-meat sandwich loaded with our award-winning barbecue, plus your choice of a classic side and drink for just $5.99. Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner in Lincoln at 3210 Cornhusker Highway. Order online at GoHogWild.com.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
Hey guys, it's Nick. You know how much I love beer, and this game day, show your Husker pride with Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of the Nebraska Alumni Association. Brewed by Nebraska fans, for Nebraska fans, Dear Old Nebraska Brew is your go-to for every kickoff, touchdown, and celebration. Whether it's tailgating, watching the game at home, or gathering with friends, this beer is there to bring that perfect game day refreshment. Dear Old Nebraska Brew embodies the spirit of Nebraska with every sip. So crack one open and let the good times roll. Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni. Please drink responsibly.
Load up on meat and more this winter at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This week's special through December 17th is 15% off all wine and spirits and 25% off on thermometers. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
The holiday season is here, and Sartor Heyman is making your shopping easy. Shop our wide selection of necklaces, earrings, or bracelets to our amazing line of watches. Looking for something truly unique? Consider our estate jewelry, or even build your own custom handcrafted piece with our in-house designers. The perfect gift at the perfect price. Christmas memories start with family and Sartor Heyman.
Automotive Solutions is Lincoln's one-stop shop for all your vehicle needs, from vinyl wraps to engine repair and maintenance. Automotive Solution offers fleet services as well as printing and graphic design for vinyl applications, plus installation of vinyl for boats, trucks, cars, and anything else you want wrapped. Perfection is their standard, and they never settle for less. Call today at 531-249-5600 or go to automotivesolutionslincoln.com to learn more. That's Automotive Solutions, 2040 Southwest 5th Street in Lincoln.
Early break. He brings him in and teaches him how to be Santa Claus.
But what do you do if like a 16-year-old wants to sit on the lap? What do you do? There's a protocol.
Protocol. What do we do? How do we handle it? Not
you
so
stand.
fast. Yeah. This is crazy. I'm going to stand up next to you.
This is Claus, but not approved. Right.
Bunch of college girls.
Right. No. Oh, becomes no.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
Slay the holidays this year with a gift that'll really get them going. One that's built to win, like the new Honda CRF-R Motocrosser. One that's built for fun, like a Honda Mini Moto. Or one for each member of the family, like a Honda CRF Trail Bike. At Rod's Power Sports, you'll find the motorcycle, ATV, or side-by-side they'll love. During the Honda Gifts That Go sales event, you can slay the streets in style with a Grom Mini Moto, slay the trails with the CRF 50F, or pile into a Pioneer 1006 Deluxe Crew that can carry 6 elves over the fields and through the woods all year long. This year, don't just give any gift. Give the gift of outdoor adventure with a ride they'll never forget. Don't miss out. Head to Rod's Power Sports in Lincoln, Nebraska during the Honda Gifts That Go sales event. It's your chance to slay the holidays and your gift list. Dealer participation may vary. See dealer for complete program and safety details.
Back to What's Next 24 from the 93.7 The Ticket studio with the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sherry Tills.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment, What's Next 24. But before we switch things over to Inside the Huddle with the former Husker, Jay Foreman, he'll go from 8 to 9. Only got about 5 minutes left here, so we'll throw it over to the hosts, Mike and Sherry.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to, in our last segment, we're going to fast forward here. I can just tell you from Rebecca and DP, I think this has really been a love story of how Rebecca came to Lincoln, had an idea. We'll talk in the future more about how she found Talent Plus and had this idea of Lincoln, how 93.7 really ended up here on O Street here. It's a beautiful station. This has been your vision and your dream. To quickly, before we close, you sent me this morning, and I think this is beautiful, about the view from your window. Would you just share this story?
Sure. So every morning I drive to Beatrice because I'm the CEO of Beatrice Bakery, which you mentioned in your opening comments. And I generally hit it just right such that I get to see the sunrise every single day. And there's something about Nebraska, sunrises and sunsets, that are just spectacular and super inspiring for me. I have 45 minutes. I live in the Haymarket. And I'm driving to Beatrice. I have 45 minutes to do my thinking. And, when you see the sun come up every day, it's a new day and there's new thoughts. And it's my time to think about, okay, what are we doing at the station? What do I have to do at the bakery today? But lots of times I am thinking about what's next and what am I working on and how can I do more and how can I contribute more? I've mentioned to you a couple of times, I'm just one of those people that have been super privileged my whole life. And while I've had adversity, I haven't had the kind of adversity that many people have. And I see that and worked in and around that most of my life. And when you drive to a rural town outside of Lincoln, it's also less privileged. The rural towns have less to offer. At least that, as I see that, right? They don't have the universities in town. They don't have some of the medical services that you would have. And at the bakery, lots of times I have employees coming up to Lincoln to shop, get services, whatever. So I live and breathe it every day. And so I think about, how do you help people and support them? And we talked about how critical that is. And one of the things when you reach our age, is that you have lots of knowledge and experience. And that's what you all talk about in your book. And my goal is to share that knowledge. Knowledge is power. Helping people out of poverty, helping people when they've had a downtime in their life, whatever the situation is, the knowledge that you have can help someone no matter what. And we talk about money all the time, and yes, money can help. But frankly, to help people permanently, which is what I'm about. I'm a root cause person. I want to help continue everyone to have a better life. You have to understand why you're there and get to the heart of it. And if you need to make more money, then you probably need more knowledge, either how to do that, or just knowledge to get a better job, or how to make more out of what you have. The knowledge is the source of power. And that's what I write about in the article. And the reality is, if you've been privileged like I have, you have to continue to remind yourself that everybody didn't have that life. And you have to walk in another person's shoes. You have to accept that you can't understand where that person's coming from unless you've walked a day in their shoes.
Absolutely. No judgment.
Right. You just cannot judge. And we are a judgy society. And if we haven't experienced or haven't lived it, we don't understand why people think the way they do what they do. And I always come at it when something doesn't seem logical to me. I'm like, I don't even have all the information. I was speaking to someone yesterday who views me as a coach and mentor, who just was talking about something at work that he didn't understand. And I said, maybe you don't have all the information. And he's like, you're right. Maybe I don't, because he's got his own perspective on what's happening. And you have to come at it from that perspective, because I've been in situations where people didn't understand me. Back to ExxonMobil and what we're doing to help women, right? 99% of unconscious bias is the person on the other side is not aware. In our case, men in that environment are not aware of what they are doing. And when they're aware, I'm going to tell you, 95% of them are horrified. They're like, I had no idea I'm making you feel that way. I'm just doing what I do and what I was raised and allowed to do in my life. But I didn't know that it was interpreted this way. So a lot of it is, and a lot of what we do, and DP's the same way, is understanding where people are coming from. And if you can't walk a day in their shoes, you cannot judge how they feel about stuff. You have to listen to them.
We're coming to a close here in just a few minutes, Rebecca. I'd like to ask you one question, and then please, it's the mic's to you to speak to the community. What do you hope your legacy to be? And then go ahead and share that,
Okay.
and then share with the community.
It's a great question. I don't view my life as leaving a legacy. I'm not motivated that way. So I don't have a legacy that I would like to leave. It's not where I come from, but my remaining days on earth are all focused on doing everything I possibly can to help women, to help people of color, to help anybody who's underprivileged, underrepresented in any way. That could be socioeconomic reasons, but to be able to give back my knowledge and my power. And as I look around Lincoln, I'm already working on another project to see if there's a way to give back to women in this community in a way that they haven't received. This is a great community, has lots of nonprofits that support a lot of the needs, but we have the benefit of having the microphone here. We have the benefit of living right here in town. And I don't have that many days on earth. I'm on the other side of probably the halfway point. And so when I drive to Beatrice and I think about what I want to do, it's what else do I have? What other benefits have I had that I can share with other people? So that can be coaching and mentoring. It can be another business. It can be sharing my stories at speaking engagements. There's lots of things that I like to do. But that's where I'd like to leave your listeners, is that's why DP and I are here as part of our retirement, is to give back to the community.
Well, we're really glad you're here. This is a wonderful. Thank you for today. Let's do part 2.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harrison.
Thanks, Rebecca. Harrison, awesome. As always.
Inside the Huddle, up next.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
On the farm from dawn till dusk, hardworking hands.